How you guys doing? Cool. I'm doing all right, thanks. I'm gonna try something do a little different. I have like a bunch of cue cards of quotes, and they're in chronological order in the story that I want to tell. But I just decided to mix them all up. I'm just gonna grant them randomly and kind of tell the story through that. But before I begin that part, can I ask you guys a favor? Let's put away our notepads. Let's put away our iPhones. Let's put away our iPads, our Androids, our Texas Instruments, our ColecoVisions, our Nintendo 64s, our PlayStations. Yeah, just seriously, put it under your chair or hide it somewhere where you won't find it for the next 20 minutes. Let's do something real quick. I want you to close your eyes and leave any loose change or wallets that you may have in front of you. I'm kidding. Close your eyes. I'm just being serious about that part. Close your eyes, and let's take 3 deep breaths. First breath, inhale. Exhale slowly. Inhale. Exhale. One more time. Inhale. And exhale. Now slowly open your eyes. How do you feel? Kind of settled, right? Little important lesson there, something that I've learned recently. The reason I wanted you to put your toys away and take just 5 seconds of doing nothing is that doing nothing settles us to be receptive to right now. Not what happened 5 minutes ago, not what's going to happen 5 minutes from now, but right now. I think we need to focus more on the now and less on what happened or what's going to happen. Because quite honestly, right now is all we have. So that's the serious part of this conversation. When I got here, I'm doing something new, working for a brand that promotes healthy living and healthy lifestyles. I felt it was hypocritical that I myself wasn't living a healthy lifestyle. I really have no idea what that means other than eating Cheerios, I guess. But the reality was I felt bad. I just felt guilty. I just felt like I was frauding people and myself, that I'm the social media manager for this corporation that promotes healthy living, and I'm eating Coney dogs and chili fries and telling people, yeah, you should join us for your health insurance because we can help you live a healthy life. So with that, I decided it would be good for someone in our company to actually live the brand they work for. And that someone ended up being me, which wasn't my idea. But for some reason, everyone else didn't want to do it. So I stepped up and said, yes, I will learn to become a healthy mer. So on the Twitter, there's a hashtag called HealthyMurr, M-U-R-R. And you can learn all about the pain I will go through learning how to be healthy. So I was glad to see that there was fruit in the back, and I was joking with Terry Bean that I was like, okay, I'll eat a lot of fruit, that way I won't eat a donut. But the reality was, I think I ate so much fruit that I ate more sugar in the fruit, and ironically, the donut would have been healthier for me.
More vitamins.
That's true, but I'm not focused on the vitamins yet, because I don't even know what vitamins do for you. I was more focused on the donuts, because I know they have vitamin taste good. And that's what I was focused on. All right, so let's move on. I have a riddle for you. How does a starving artist become the social media manager for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan? Don't have to answer that right away. But at the end of this presentation, hopefully we'll have an answer. Guys ever hear of Louis Pasteur? Kind of created something that helps us all be here now. A couple quotes from him. Chance favors the prepared mind. Do not let yourself be tainted with a barren of skepticism. I'm an art major, fine arts, art history minor. And now I'm in charge of an area of communication for a significantly large company. If I just went by the piece of paper that said what I'm skilled to do at, that makes absolutely no sense. And I should not have this job that I have now. So how did I get this job? Realistically, I should be eating ramen noodles and selling my art on the side of the street. Because I've done that for gas money, for my Astro minivan that predated plastic minivans. It was huge. I called it the Juggernaut. Chance favors the prepared mind. What do you think that means, the prepared mind? Do you think I was prepared 10 years ago to say, you know what I'm going to do, even though I have no idea that this thing called Facebook or MySpace or Twitter or whatever will be around? I'm going to be a social media manager. No, I prepared my mind, and this is the benefit. Everything I'm telling you is with the benefit of 20/20 hindsight. I prepared my mind for opportunities. And I prepared my mind to not listen to the rules and to not listen to people, messages, negativity that said, you can't do that, or that doesn't make sense, or that's wrong. When Louis Pasteur was creating his antivirus, how many times do you think he tripped up and failed? Or how many times do you think he heard from the science community that, what are you talking about? There's no such thing. You're crazy. This won't work. It's funny, in this day and age, we see, Charlie said it great, the sound bites of success. The problem with the social web right now is that it creates this beautiful frosty layer, and that's all we see and that's all we pay attention to, and we don't take the time to dig past the frosting into the cake to see all the work and all the ingredients that all these successes, these success stories have created. We just say, oh man, it looks so easy for them. They've done things, they've done great. Oh, look at that, he's eating food and getting paid to do that. Oh, it looks like he's just so lucky. That's not necessarily true. Ever settle? Ever just say, you know what, whatever, I don't care. Give me my paycheck. Or give me my 20-minute lunch break, whatever, I don't give a crap. Unknown quote here. Do you really deserve better if you continue settling for less? What do you think? I want to say, when I decided to do this social media thing for a living, back then it was called Web 2.0. The companies that I worked for understood, to their credit, understood that this could be something somewhat important, but it's not necessarily a priority. So if we just pay you X amount salary, put you in the corner and give you the assignments, and you can chime in when you want. How's that sound? Well, for the opportunist, you're thinking, that's great. This is something I want to do. I want to do social media for a living. This is my career. This is my job. So I step up. I go, yes, please, can I do that? And then within a week, I realize I'm settling. I'm settling for someone else's rules. I'm settling for someone else's framework of how they see I can work for them. I'm certainly not an entrepreneur. Maybe I have an entrepreneurial, artistic mind that kind of looks beyond, again, those papers or the titles or the paycheck and says, you know what, this just doesn't feel right. Ever get that? This just doesn't feel right. I don't have a card for this, but if you follow Bruce Lee, one of the best quotes from him is like, be like water. Water forms the cup. You pour it out, it flows off the table. It keeps flowing. It finds a way. Other companies that I worked for, sometimes I'd have a long commute. Sometimes I just wouldn't have the right communication. Sometimes my supervisors would yell with obscenities over a conference call at me. And I had to realize, is this what I want to settle for? And sure, there's that fear that, you know what, if I don't settle, I'm going to be out of a job. But again, as we've heard before, if you settle for fear, you're robbing yourself of experiences, of the opportunities, of those chances. We live in a world today where you can do just about anything. I kid you not. It's, you guys ever hear of sendtheball.com? It's a company, I think it's just outside of South Chicago. Two ladies, all they do is send rubber balls to people with messages on them. And it's been in business for almost now 10 years. Sounds like a ridiculous idea, maybe? I can't tell you how fun it is to get an email or a call from someone that says, oh my God, thank you for the rubber ball you sent me. And they're still in business. I graduated in '98, again, as I stated, with a fine arts degree. Because I was such a great student, I decided to focus real hard and commit myself to a 6-year fine arts starving artist program. Paul Strand has a great quote about arts. The artist's world is limitless. It can be found anywhere, far from where he lives or a few feet away. It is always on his doorstep. And the reality today is I believe we're all artists. And I don't say that because I think artists are better or worse than anything. I believe an artist at their core just wants to create something. The medium is indifferent. We all want to create something. Either it's, a family, maybe it's a building, a conference like this, a piece of work that hangs on someone's wall, a photograph, a poem. But we're all artists. And in 1998, after I graduated, I realized that, well, my career options are pretty slim. I can wait tables, I guess, do catering, but do I have to do that in Michigan? No, of course not. I can do wait tables and do catering anywhere, right? I can. So I packed up my Juggernaut minivan, drove down the East Coast, stayed in Florida for a little bit in this place called Immokalee, Florida. You ever hear of it? Ever hear of Naples, Florida? It's 40 miles away from Naples. And Immokalee, Florida is, well, at the time, its yearly median income was $1,100 a year for the city. $1,100 was the average median income. I volunteered at a homeless shelter, and I helped the Meals on Wheels. There was a monastery, and there was a bunch of nuns, and they immediately recognized me as Guatemalan because they were from Guatemala, so they started speaking to me in Spanish, and I was like, hey, I don't speak that, thanks. And they were flabbergasted that my English was so good. So I would help them with Meals on Wheels, and I would help the homeless shelter. I'd cook food for the migrant farmers or the people who were having trouble with, finding a house to live, finding jobs. And I will never forget the day when I think it was the first time I did Meals on Wheels, and that I stopped at this house that is literally made out of like what looked like just that cheap wood sheets that looks like wood shavings glued together, and no joke, yeah, plywood and like just sheet metal as a roof. And there were two girls, there were two girls, and they were playing with rocks like they were the most amazing thing they had. And I promised myself at that moment, and the reason I'm getting kind of choked up is because they reminded me of my sister, who was also adopted for Colombia. And, okay, yeah, maybe there is a little bit of luck. Maybe there was a little bit of chance that I was adopted, and that could have been me. But I promised myself I would never complain about what I didn't have again after seeing that. I wish you all could have seen those two girls play with those rocks, because that vision will stick in my mind for the rest of my life. Because they could have been diamonds, the newest toy. They could have been iPads and all the other crap that we're worried about accumulating. They were the most amazing things to them at the time. So the reason I bring up Immokalee is 40 miles away is in Naples, Florida. So 40 miles separates one of the poorest cities in our country with one of the richest cities in our country, where all the retirees go, where they golf, and they drive 10 miles below the speed limit. So after Naples, I decided Florida just wasn't the place I wanted to be, and I drove out to Arizona, where I decided to really focus on my starving artist skills and got a second degree in art, computer animation. Now, packing up my van, leaving home, stopping in Florida, going off to Arizona, would you say that's safely a risk? Was that risky of me to do? I think it was. I say that humbly. Warren Buffett has a great quote on risks. Never test the depth of a river with both feet. Now, when I say I just jumped in my van, I didn't necessarily do that. I kind of had some plans. I'm like, okay, I have a credit card with X amount of money available on it. So I have money. Not mine, but I do have money. The homeless shelter that I stayed at actually was when I went to Eastern, they had these things called alternative spring breaks, where you actually went out instead of getting drunk and partying. You did like volunteer projects. And every time I did it 3 years. Every time I did it, I ended up going to Florida randomly, because they just pick your assignments. But the last year I did it was at this homeless shelter in Immokalee. So I contacted the director and said, hey, I just graduated. Do you need some help? He's like, yeah, come on down. You know, I can't pay you much, but maybe $100 a week. Cool. Let's see how that goes, and then I'll head west. I have family out in Arizona. My cousin lives out there, my aunt, my uncle. I was like, hey, I'm probably going to head out to Arizona maybe in a year or so. Would it be okay if I stayed with you guys while I got settled? Yeah, absolutely. So it wasn't that I just drove in my van. Kind of planned it out a little bit. It's good to take risks, and I don't mean you should wait until all the pieces lined up, because I certainly didn't know the pieces were lined up when I left. And I don't believe in taking calculating risks, but I do believe in just kind of doing your homework. So let's jump a little bit to where I am now, Blue Cross Blue Shield in Michigan. The last job I was at was actually a really good job. My commute, want to guess how long my commute was at my last job prior to this one? 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Guess where my wife worked and still works? Right across the street from where I was now going to work. We filled up our gas tank on our Nissan Versa once every century. It was awesome. I had free reign. The director, or the principal owner of the agency, this is your department. You're going to build it. You're going to create it. It's a pretty sweet job. But it wasn't quite right. There were some things that I wasn't willing to settle for. And so when Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan had a job opening, everyone automatically assumes that the people who are quote unquote good in this space will apply for every single job that's available. And I wasn't necessarily interested in the job to begin with, because I actually had a health care client, and I wouldn't say it was the funnest social media adventure I ever had. But I did know people that worked there, and so I called them up and I said, hey, just tell me what's up. Tell me what you like, what you don't like about it. And I'm like, okay, you know what? All right, let me meet with the director. Okay, I don't want to go through the interview process. I just want to have lunch. Long story short, we go through the interview process. They offer me the job. They actually offered me the job the day of my wife's and I's 10-year anniversary. And we were just about to go off to Mackinac Island to spend a week for our 10-year anniversary celebration. And I was like, I'm in no frame of mind to like actually think about this right now. I'm thinking about peanut butter fudge and horse crap. So let me give you a call when I get back. And I honestly didn't think about it when I was in Mackinac. But have you guys ever been to Mackinac Island? Wait, you guys like that place? I swear to God, every time I go there, any stress or whatever I have just literally just disappears.
On the boat over.
Yeah, on the boat over, or even when you're waiting for the ferry. And when you hear that, and when you smell that combination of horse manure and fudge, you're like, you know you're home. Yeah, it's great. So I didn't even really think about it until like a couple days before we were about to leave. And actually, I didn't really have to think about it much because this one principle, here's a quote, and it's from me. So feel free to quote me, because that'd be great. Just kidding. But regardless of the decisions that I had, and regardless if I was going to take this job at Blue Cross or not, at the end of the day, always ask yourself, what column do you want to check off? The one that says at least, or the one that says what if? Because I'll be honest, I wasn't 100% convinced I was prepared for this job, that I had the skills to do this job, or that I was the right person for the job. I kind of struggle with self-esteem and self-doubt a lot. And I was like, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I had to ask myself, what do I want to say? Do I want to say, well, you know what, at least I gave it my best shot? Or, I wonder what would have happened if I had taken that job. So we know what would happen. I said, I want to say at least. And I took the job, and it's probably been the best career decision that I've made in a long time. Thank you. Let's go back to traveling in the van, because you come from an Astro minivan, and not that I'm not really big into cars, and I know that's sacrilege saying that here in the Motor City, but in fact, everyone like rails into me that I own a Nissan Versa, and I'm like, I lived in Arizona at the time we bought it, and they're like, it doesn't matter, you should have sold it and get a Ford, GM, Chrysler car, and I'm like, you know what, back in 2007, when I typed in fuel economy, compact, your SEO should have been better than Nissan's, because that's what popped up. So that shuts them up real quick. Anyway, greatness is a road leading towards the unknown. Charles de Gaulle. I don't think I'm great. I think the job I have is great. I think the team that I have, they're fantastic. We have a riot. We're the envy of our department. People come to our side of the building just to hang out because they can feel that we're fun and we're energetic and we're doing things and we're not just stuck in our cubicle and we're like, I don't know. I'll never forget, they have kind of like an ambassador program where you meet with someone who's been in the company so they can show you the ropes and tell you what's going on and make you feel comfortable. And I'll never forget it. We sat down at lunch. I said, so how long have you been here? And she said, 15 years. Okay. Thumbs up for enthusiasm. Take the road that people do not travel. You may have heard that thousands of times. There's poems and TVs and movies all about it, but it's really true. When we were in Arizona, I actually did 2 tours of Arizona. When we went back to Arizona, because my wife got a job offer that we couldn't refuse, I said, why not? Especially when they're going to pay for us to move back there. What do we have to lose? If I have a customer service here in this small town in Minnesota, I guarantee I can find a job in the big city of Phoenix, Arizona. And we ended up living way down in this place called Queen Creek, Arizona. Ever hear of it? You have? Really? Wow. I had never heard of it because it was literally in the middle of nowhere at the time. But this is right before the housing bubble burst, so all the realtors are in there. I've never seen more empty houses in my life, and no joke, we lived there a year, and all of these properties had banners starting at $200,000 2 months later, starting at $180,000 4 months later, starting at $160,000 6 months later, starting at $1,000 with a free pool and a dog and a kid that will mow your lawn once in a while. No joke, kept going down, kept going down, kept going down. We were renting our house for like $980. And the guy was like, you should buy it, man. And I said, the last thing I want to do, I'm not financially savvy. I certainly wasn't paying attention to the news, but I just knew that, wait a minute, everyone's telling me to buy this house. Again, this just doesn't feel right. I don't want to buy this house. And sure enough, we didn't. And that whole neighborhood just collapsed. Funny thing is they built a Sonic, no joke, right in the beginning, like entrance of the subdivision. So the first thing you do when you pull in is there's a Sonic. It was part of the subdivision. I'm not saying it was down the road, it was like right there. Imagine you came here, and in order to get through here, you had to go through the drive-through of the Sonic. I kid you not, that's exactly what it was. And I don't know how populated that neighborhood is now, but they have to be the fattest neighborhood in the world. Think about it, because we're lazy, right? Are you gonna go shopping for dinner when you could just get a chicken strip, tater tot, chili, limeade dinner for you and your family? Probably not. All right. Your reality. I think this is from me, but it's what I've just discovered. What you think about will happen, and what you talk about will happen. Charlie said it great. Turn off the news. Turn off the radio. My parents were so freaking out that we were moving back to Michigan. And the first night we stayed with them, I realized why, because they kept watching the news and the stock reports and all of this. I'm like, well, no wonder you guys are terrified. What you think about and what you talk about will happen. I am now very conscious of how much I complain, what I'm thinking about, and what I'm talking about. Greg Aldrich, entrepreneur, business guy, smart person, said, if all jobs pay $2 an hour, what job would you want to do? Start doing it now, even if you don't get paid to do it. I get asked a lot by young professionals or college students about to graduate saying, how can I do social media like you? And quite honestly, I don't know, because I don't think there was a way to do it the way I was doing it. I just wanted to do it. So I went from a job that was paying $40K to a job that paid $9 an hour, but I was doing social media and the money didn't matter in the back of my mind. In the checkbook, it did. In the balance and in the bank, it did. But in the back of my mind, I just knew that I was happy. I was like, oh, this is great. I'm doing social media. And I know I'll prepare my mind to do the next job that will pay me more, which happened to be in Washington, D.C. But they said, guess what? You can still live in Detroit, but we'll pay you Washington, D.C. salary, and you get to spend Detroit prices. I went from a $9 job to a $50,000 job in like 6 months. So am I lucky? What do you think? Why not?
Never stop.
Shallow people believe in luck. Wise and strong people believe in cause and effect. Unknown. Yeah, I would say the only thing I'm lucky at is poker and finding parking spots. All the rest is, again, with the benefit of 20/20 hindsight, is when I line everything up, I just didn't stop. I just didn't care. I just didn't listen to the doubters. I just knew what I wanted to do. And quite frankly, and this is something my uncle told me, he says, never get involved in a business venture that you can't walk away from. I don't have to do social media for the rest of my life to be happy. I'm very lucky I can do it now. And I'm very thankful I'm doing it now. But I'd be more than happy just to walk away, maybe work at a coffee shop. True story, my wife and I were before we got the Blue Cross job, we were thinking of just packing up everything and just heading to France. Why not? We don't have any kids. We've got 2 cats. French people like cats. Figure out. People are not stupid. They believe things for reasons. The last way for skeptics to get attention of bright, curious, intelligent people is to belittle and or condescend or show arrogance towards their beliefs. Carl Sagan. 2008 is when we moved back to Michigan. October 8th is when we landed. Great time to move back, right? It worked out. So, the answer to the riddle is, how does a starving artist become the social media manager of Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan? Quite honestly, it's just listen to your intuition. Just do whatever makes you feel happy as long as you're not hurting someone. It's not about the paycheck. If you're eating every day, you have a roof above your head, you're in good health, 99.9% of what you need covered is covered. Moving back to Michigan has probably been the best personal and professional decision I have ever made. So I thank you very much for listening, and I thank Heather and Ron for having me, and I encourage you to go out there and listen to your intuition and make great successes of the things that you want to do. Thank you very much.